What's going on, guys? It's Tommy here from Saleslucky.com, and today's topic is about context and what that means in a sales perspective, especially in a B2B or complex sale perspective. Okay, context. What do I mean by context? So context, what I mean is all the different variables and factors that go into a situation, that go into a deal, that make that situation that situation. So what I mean by that is, for example, let's say you're selling into a company. What is the context of that deal? Who is the company? Who are the people involved in that deal? Like what their titles are, who the different people are, what each person's uh, individual agenda is, who that individual is as a person, like what are they like, what's their personality like, basically any number of factors. I mean, potentially limitless number of factors that go into a deal, like the different number of meetings. In the third meeting, who was in on that meeting, what for example, did the IT guy raise his hand to try to look good in front of his boss, and then derail the conversation? Context. So all the anything that happened within that deal, all the different various factors within a deal, right? I hope that makes sense. The reason why I'm saying context is important, especially in a complex deal where there's multiple stakeholders, multiple points in the sales cycle, and every meeting is slightly different. The people could be the same, but the context of that meeting, the people in that meeting, or the topics of discussion, or individual agendas, individual egos, personalities, all that stuff. The reason why I'm talking about this is, I've had situations, and I think a lot of salespeople, especially when they're newer, they go, seek advice from their manager about a deal. They seek advice from a colleague or from their VP about a deal, and they're explaining to them the context of that deal, like filling in the details about that deal. And then they're hoping for an answer. They're wanting some sort of perspective or an answer, which is not a bad thing. It's a great thing, and I think you should all do that. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying don't do that. All I'm saying is when the VP or the director or your colleague gives you feedback, hey, you should do this based on what I heard, I just want, I think you want to know, we just want you to know that the person that you're asking advice from, they don't understand the deal like you do. They were not in every meeting. They were not present for every phone call. They didn't see that IT guy raise his hand and try to look like a hero in front of his boss and derail the conversation, or he wasn't there to feel how that call felt and basically absorb everything from the different calls and meetings, the situation, the background of the company, the initiatives within the company. Basically, what I'm saying is to just be aware that whoever you're asking advice from, they don't understand that deal like you do. You understand that deal better than anyone because you're the closest to it, and you've been there for all the conversations. You were physically there, or you were on the phone with people. So my ultimate message here is just be aware of context when you're asking for help, and ultimately just to trust yourself. Trust your gut, because as you're filling in the details of the deal to your boss or your manager, they don't know that deal like you do. You know that deal better than anyone because you understand the context. It's the same concept as your life. As people give you advice, ultimately you want to be able to hear that advice and then ask yourself if it makes sense for you. And if it does make sense, you can try it on. If it doesn't, you can leave it. So that's the only thing I'm saying. because I've seen, from my perspective, I've seen, salespeople hear advice and then, take that advice, when that may not be the right advice to take. And I know for myself, when I've tried to explain a complex deal to someone within my organization, having found it a bit difficult at times to convey all the different factors and context of that deal so they understand the situation. Because when we're dealing with human beings and multiple people and situations, there's different things that we need to consider, right? So ultimately, the message is just to be aware of context when you're seeking help or advice, and when you do get that advice, which I think you should you should ask for advice. But when you do get that advice, just take a look at it, see if it makes sense, and make a decision from there. Ultimately, think for yourself. You want to think for yourself. You want to trust yourself, and you want to trust your gut. Okay. All right. Hope you guys got value out of this video, and we'll see you guys soon.